So the first day of the change up, um, so Jason Bateman was already there, right? It was like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, and
Mhm.
we have a 3 month shoot ahead of us. I think it was October 11th, 2010. And I remember standing outside waiting for the cast to arrive. And so we had brand new trailers, mind you, these really nice RVs that the cast stay in.
Yeah.
Um, and Ryan hadn't shown up yet, but we all got a call that Ryan's trailer is on fire.
No.
Day one, on fire.
Welcome to episode number 24. I am joined today by Gene Smith. Gene has worked various different roles throughout the film industry through the years and has worked on several comedies that I love, including American Reunion, Due Date, and The Change Up. How are we doing today, Gene?
We're good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. So, just kicking things off, what got you into the film industry?
In the eighth grade, I started doing extra work on a TV show in Wilmington, and then did that for a couple of years and realized I wanted to be on set in some capacity, and made some friends. And, I did a movie after that, all while in high school, and one of the contacts from that movie, Summer Catch, um, was a PA. 5 years later, when I was in college, was an AD shooting a movie where I was in college in Greensboro, which is like 4 hours away.
Hmm.
Gave me my first internship, and I was in the AD department as a PA, and did that and just kind of snowballed from there. I did another movie right after that called Junebug with Amy Adams, and just did a string of indie films around North Carolina. I would go to class, and then I would go to set, or I would
Hmm.
be studying on set for an exam while locking up, or walking the actors to and from set. So it
Hmm.
was a pretty good experience.
Awesome. Yeah, I know that sounds like a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned some terms like AD and PA, and I know you've worked as a PA and second AD and first AD. Could you explain what these terms mean and what the jobs entail on set?
Yeah, so everybody in the AD department starts as a production assistant, a PA. So it's just a runner. It's you lock up crew to make sure they don't walk into a shot. You make sure that they're quiet. You just assist the ADs, the first AD, the second AD, and the second AD. Second AD could also be called the third AD. But basically, there's a team of PAs, usually about 4 or 5 per team, and then you have additional PAs as well to help with anything else. Um, Usually, the first four core PAs, there's a key PA that's in charge of like lockups and overseeing where the PAs are. There's a background PA that handles all the background and getting them processed and telling them when and where to go, and queuing them and all that. There's a base camp PA, which is in charge of the cast, catches the cast at the trailers, gets them checked in, their
Mm.
paperwork, gets them through hair, makeup, wardrobe, and then gets them their breakfast and gets them to set. And then if they need to come back to base camp and change over in some form, and whatnot, um, that's what they do, as well as assisting the second AD who is at base camp creating the call sheet for tomorrow. So it's a good way to learn how to become a second AD to work at base camp. So the first AD is in charge. So the first AD works with the producers, director, DP, production designer, and other department heads to kind of bring in the schedule. So if we're only given 2 months to shoot a 120
Mhm.
page script, then it's up to the first AD to break it down. It's, and by elements, by cast, by location, by
Hmm.
background, stunts, you name it, special effects, makeup, um, costumes, and so forth. So you put all these things together and you figure out the best possible way to shoot this. And you also have to work with cast availability
Hmm.
because some casts will be working with other movies or TV shows or just can't work until a specific date and has to be out by a specific date.
Hmm.
You have to work within location parameters and blackout dates. Like, if we're shooting in a high school, then normally we'll adjust our work week to a Wednesday through Sunday so that we can shoot high school scenes in a real high school, but not while they're in school. So therefore,
Right.
we would save those days for Saturday and Sunday and so forth.
Hmm.
As well as shooting with a bunch of minors. If we have a lot of minors, we would maybe adjust that work week as well so we don't owe as many hours to school them on set. Um,
Hmm.
and then you're also working with the art department, the production designer, because if there are stage builds, you want to put the stage builds to the end of the shoot and shoot on location because that gives the art department more time to prepare and build certain stages. If there are no stage builds, then you just talk to the art department on what is the easiest couple of sets for you to have ready for us in the first 2 weeks, giving you enough time to get the other sets because
Hmm.
they're always leapfrogging ahead of us to get ready, and they're coming behind us after we shoot to clear it out and so forth. So that that takes into account, how I can shoot, along with I think I said locations as well. The
Hmm. Yeah.
um, so we make the schedule and get it approved by the producers, and then we send it out to the cast and the crew. Oh, excuse me. And again, as a first AD, once you're on set, you're running the set. You're
Hmm.
making sure that the lighting setup isn't taking as long, and you're making sure that the cast and the BG are ready on set for a rehearsal
Hmm.
or to just start shooting and so forth. And you kind of orchestrate with your team to make sure that the BG is set and rehearsed and the cast are mic'd up and so forth
Hmm.
on time so that the time that the DP needs to light, you are ready at the same time. So it's
Right.
it's a, it's a game of minutes. And as a second AD, so if I'm not firsting, so as a first, I'm focused on today.
Hmm.
As a key second, I'm focused on tomorrow, right?
Okay.
So I'm in Tomorrowland.
Hmm.
So I'm always a day ahead mentally because I've spent all day the previous day working on today's work.
Hmm.
So basically, I take that schedule that the first AD created, and I work in a call sheet. And then we also have to, so therefore, I'm communicating with hair, makeup, wardrobe throughout the day. How long is it going to take for this changeover, and so forth? And sometimes I will say, oh, it might be better if we shoot this scene above this scene, and I'll go to the first AD and propose that idea because it's less hair makeup at the beginning or less changeovers throughout the day,
Right. Yeah.
so um, and then you're just kind of the first call for the actors. If they're running late, they'll text you sometimes to let you know that they're running late if they are self-driving or if they're if anything's wrong. You have to kind of put the fires out at base camp before they reach set,
Right.
and if I can make it so that the first AD doesn't know or we're not delayed, then I've done my job,
Hmm.
along with my base camp PA and so forth.
Hmm.
So between us, we're just kind of making sure things are lining up, and if it does get to a point where an actor is late and that person's in the first scene, but I have the other actors here, and if we just switch the first and the second scene around,
Hmm.
I'll
Yeah.
tell the first, I'm like, hey, I can do this, and therefore we're not waiting on anything, and we're shooting by shooting call, and we're
Hmm.
staying on budget, and we're staying on schedule. So it's just lots of things that you are, again, putting out last minute fires and trying.
Right. Yeah.
It's just a big game of Tetris and chess,
Yeah.
you will.
So it sounds like, yeah.
Thinking ahead multiple steps and figuring out how to change it around so that it still fits into your day but doesn't extend your day.
So you've been a part of some pretty huge comedy movie sets, including Due Date, The Change Up, American Reunion. I
Hmm.
love all these movies, all deep, good budgets. I mean, mid-budget films, but I mean, like,
Yeah. I think 30 million or more for,
yeah,
yeah.
that sounds about right. Yeah. I'm just curious, could you tell us about your experience on these sets?
Yeah, I only worked on due date for a week. Uh,
Okay.
I was supposed to work, so Atlanta had a 3 week run. I was set to work all 3 weeks, but then I got some kidney stones.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's
So
terrible.
yeah, so I was not able to come back after the second week, unfortunately. But the way they shot it is they began the show here, and it's a road trip movie. So
Mhm.
therefore, they started here. They went to Alabama after 3 weeks. Then I think they went to Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, and then ended in LA or something along those
Mhm.
lines.
Right.
Um, but the majority of the stuff that we shot that I remember, obviously we shot the interstate work, we shot the airport work here, and we shot the Waffle House here, which was a fun day, free waffles.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, I think the first day on that, I was super excited because I was a big fan of um, Old School.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was in high school when that came out, and then also Iron Man 1 had obviously already come out, but I don't
Yeah.
know if Iron Man 2 had already come out because we shot this in September or October of 2009, and
Mhm.
I had just moved to Atlanta in February of 2009, and work had just started getting really, really, really big. So um, it was kind of cool to get something quite that large.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and Zach Galifianakis was fresh off of The Hangover as well, the
Yeah.
first one or the second one. So it was a
Yeah.
great cast, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so that was exciting. I didn't have a specific PA job. They brought most of those PAs in from LA or New York,
Mhm.
um, and they filled in for additional PA work locally. And so our first day, we were at a construction site, which I don't even think made the movie. It was like Robert Downey Jr.'s at a construction site or an office building or something. I can't remember. I just know that we were in Buckhead somewhere. And then we eventually went and shot a whole day at the Waffle House. You know, we did the interior Waffle House.
Mhm.
We shut it down for the day, and then we did some road work where they were driving and
Mhm.
whatnot. So while they were out shooting, the Waffle House was just pumping out waffles. And what do you want? You want chocolate chip
Yeah.
pancakes? Yes. So it
That's
was great.
awesome.
They were very excited to have us. I think some of the executives from Waffle House flew in to be there as they should.
Yeah.
Um, and then we shot a day or two at the Atlanta airport parking deck for the infamous scene where he's driving and trying to pick up, I think it's Zach Galifianakis, or Zach driving the car and Robert Downey's. Someone's outside of the car, someone's driving the car, and they're having this back and forth.
Yeah.
So we shot that. And I know I shot some other stuff, but I can't remember. It's been 16 years now,
Mhm.
which is crazy to even think.
Yeah.
Um, but I was in my early 20s, fresh out of college by 2 years and working with some people that I really looked up to at that time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you were really excited to work with Todd because of old school. Like, did any cool stories that you remember from him or Zach or Robert?
No, they were all very standoffish. And again, as a PA, I don't get an opportunity to go talk to
Right.
the big guys on set. Now, if I was second or first or something like that, I'd probably have a little more stories for you. But I just remember Robert Downey was on his phone a good bit, and I worked with our DJ a couple of times after that, and he was
Uh,
great. He's super nice and
oh, awesome.
bubbly and chill. Like I did Captain America: Civil War reshoots with him, and he was
Uh,
great. Um, and Todd Phillips is, I don't have much to say about him. I didn't talk to him. I was
mhm.
always kept at a distance from him because that's just where my lockup was.
Right.
But and then Zach was just, I guess he saved most of the stuff for the screen, like most big comedians do.
Yeah.
I hear Will Ferrell might be the same, a bit quiet on set. I know Ryan Reynolds is very quiet and not as jokey as you would think,
Interesting. Okay.
not on camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Did you get to like watch them act and like Todd direct at all, or where
uh,
you were set up?
I can't. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure I did, but it's been so long, I don't remember anything other than.
Yeah. No. Right on. No. Fair enough.
Um, but when it comes, so it was, so the change up, I was a little
Yeah.
more involved.
Okay. Yeah.
In 2010, I wrangled all the cast. So, I was the first team PA on set, which basically the base camp PA doesn't come to set with the cast. They just send it up to another PA to make sure that that PA
Mhm.
gets them touched up and mic'd up and so forth.
Yeah.
So therefore, with the change up, I wrangled, JB and Ryan and Leslie and Olivia and all those guys, and it
Yeah.
was great. It was a heavy hitting cast. Oh, excuse me. And we shot it actually not too far from where I live now, at a warehouse.
Yeah.
So the first day of the change up, um, so Jason Bateman was already there, right? It was like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, and
Mhm.
we have a 3 month shoot ahead of us. I think it was October 11th, 2010. And I remember standing outside waiting for the cast to arrive. And Ryan, so we had brand new trailers, mind you, these really nice RVs that the cast stay in.
Yeah.
Um, and Ryan hadn't shown up yet, but we all got a call that Ryan's trailer is on fire.
No.
Day one, on fire. Brand new trailer, on fire. Thankfully, no one was in it, and our poor second AD, I think his name was Paul. He was just, like, what in the world? Like, what the hell's going on? This is day one, right? Luckily,
Yeah.
Ryan is probably not set to arrive for another 30 minutes. And thank God he wasn't there because he brought his dog every day. And normally, when he goes to hair and makeup, you leave the dog in the trailer.
Yeah.
That would have been, I don't even want to think about what
Oh
would,
my God. Yeah.
but yeah, up in flames. We had EMS truck, we had fire trucks, all there, just top of the show, like welcome to the show, right? So it was just wild. And then when Ryan got to set, I don't remember seeing him when he first got to base camp in the morning. I'm sure he was taken aback, but
Yeah.
we just gave him a temporary trailer for that day. I think he was number one or number two. Jason, one of them was number one. I can't
Mhm.
remember. But it wasn't a great start.
No. That's
No.
wild.
So, and Jason, from what I hear, he had just did Hancock a year or two prior, so he was in real good with Will Smith. So the rumor was Jason asked Will Smith for a Will Smith double decker trailer, which is a really nice RV that is meant for cast holding, but the top section extends upwards. So therefore, Ryan claims he didn't want it. He felt like a jackass for having the nicest trailer on set. But that's what we got him. Excuse me. And so when he came to set, I remember we started the scene where Ryan is in his room and we had all the stages. We had Ryan's apartment built all in
Mhm.
the warehouse here, right?
Yeah.
And the next door, obviously not to scale, probably 50 feet or so apart, is Jason Bateman's office that was built on stage with the
Mhm.
wraparound curtain that looks like the skyline of Atlanta. So it was really,
Yeah.
and I remember us shooting simultaneously a camera over on Ryan's set for his phone conversation and over on Jason's set for his conversation with Ryan. I'm like, this is great. You're shooting a whole scene instead of shooting that scene twice.
Yeah.
Here, one perspective here. And then I don't know what happened, but we had to reshoot that whole thing again, but separately.
Oh no.
Didn't understand it, but I was like, oh, we're off to a great start. This is very efficient.
Yeah.
So I remember we did that one day and we had to just redo, I think, one, if not both sides of the conversation for some reason. Um, I remember Jason was awesome. He was, got some stories about him,
Yeah.
but I was excited to work with Ryan, and he was fresh off of Green Lantern,
Mhm.
which did not do well.
No.
But I remember we were downtown. Scarlett Johansson showed up for a weekend, and I was in charge of walking him and Scarlett and maybe another person or two around down to make sure they get from base camp to set safely without being bombarded by the local.
Right.
Yeah, because um, he wasn't at the status he is now, but he was
Mhm.
still very recognizable, and so was
Definitely.
she.
Yeah.
I remember that. That was that. I think it was like maybe week two, and then that was like Monday or Tuesday. And then if you remember, Scarlett Johansson goes to Saturday Night Live that following Saturday,
Okay.
right? So what I thought was strange was roughly after that weekend, and she met her now husband on Saturday Night Live, Colin Jost.
Mhm.
I feel like I don't know if pretty sure it was already on the rocks, but basically right after that SNL um, appearance, I think it was the following weekend. I'm reading an article, and I'm noticing that Ryan's very distant and very much on his phone in between takes, and just like very serious demeanor. But when the cameras are rolling, he's in character, obviously.
Yeah.
But it said that him and Scarlett were getting a divorce, and I'm like, oh shit. So now we've got a high profile actor that is now going through a very public divorce, and so that was tough. You had to just, when you needed Ryan, you needed to make sure that you were ready, because I'm sure he was texting PR people and his lawyer and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
poor guy, I'm sure no one wants to be working during times like that.
Oh my God. No, that's horrible.
So I do remember that. And he was just very much, again, standoffish for the remainder of the show. There was no joking around, hardly. He might say a thing or two to me every now and then, but I just kept it short and brief, like, hey, Ryan, we're ready for you. Or, hey, we
Mhm.
don't need you for this shot. Or, hey, this is your close up. Stuff like that.
Mhm.
Now, Jason was great. Jason did not like to be uh, handled like we're supposed to do. Like, we always need to know where actors are, as
Mhm.
first team PA, because if the first AD is like, hey, where's JB, or hey, where's Ryan,
Mhm.
hey, they're 10-1, which means they're in the restroom, or hey, they're at craft services, which is the
Mhm.
table where they eat snacks. So it's my job to be able to stand at some place where I can see roughly all the actors without
Yeah.
being right next to them.
Yeah.
No one wants that. No one wants to know that someone, that you're being monitored, or that
Yeah.
someone's watching you go to the bathroom, or announce them on set. So I learned quite a bit from JB on that one, because I was just used to saying, "Hey, JB's 10-1," or "Hey, JB's walking," or "JB's on set," and he told me, he was just like, "Hey, man, just don't let me hear you say it." I'm like, "You got it, yes, sir." And very nice, obviously, but I would just let him walk to set, and then
Mhm.
I'd turn around and I'd whisper, "JB's on set." And so therefore I do that with other actors now, and I tell the PAs to do the same, because I
Mhm.
think back to what Jason told me. Uh,
Yeah.
so that was a good learning experience. And plus, when we were downtown, I had to walk him to base camp and whatnot, and he's just like, "Don't follow me, Gene. Don't do it." And I'm like, "Okay," but they're telling me to. He's like, "I'm telling you, it's okay. I'm good." Because him and his dog Hank would ride MARTA, which is the local
Okay.
transit company here, trains and whatnot. It's still very recognizable. Uh, and he hadn't done Ozark or anything like that, but
Mhm.
people would know who he is from that TV show that he did.
Arrested Development.
Yes,
Yeah.
which I was not a fan of. I tried watching it, but I couldn't get into it. But yeah, he was very recognizable from that, among other things.
Mhm.
I know that there was Ryan did like to play a joke on Jason. There's a scene, or I don't know with Jason, but there was a scene where Ryan is in a movie theater, and we shot that at the Plaza Theater in
Mhm.
Atlanta. And Ryan specially requested that we play Teen Wolf 2, which is with Jason Bateman, playing it. So that I guess he was trying to embarrass Jason, even though I don't think he was there. Um, and then yeah, I mean, the grocery store scene was cool. I think Jason grabbed some stuff and placed it on my head. He could be very playful and he could be
Yeah.
very serious at the same time. So you kind of wait for him to initiate the joking around.
Right.
And I do remember one time he and I were in an elevator, and I had some busted shoes. I don't like to buy shoes for some reason. And so I had some shoes where the soles were separated and they were,
Yeah, I've been there.
yeah. And I'm just like, I'm just working to live at this point as a PA,
Mhm.
right? PAs don't get paid very well, even on the big budget shows.
Mhm.
Um, Back then, I think they're it's a little bit better now. But he said something to the fact, like, Gene, like, those shoes aren't doing anyone any favors or something. And I'm like, man, it's all I can afford right now. And so he asked me my shoe size, and I know that uh, the main cast got 5 pairs of New Balances from New Balance, just for, I don't know why. I don't they weren't wearing them in the movie or anything. So he was like, "I'm going to get you some shoes for Christmas." I was like, "Oh, okay." And so that was like November, and then fast forward a couple weeks, I'm walking Jason. We did something at the school with Jason's daughter and
Mhm.
Leslie Mann,
Yes.
and I'm walking them to their car, and Jason calls me over to his SUV, and he gives me a pair of shoes for Christmas, like he had said. And I was like,
Yeah.
I was thinking he might have forgot. And I still have those shoes today.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And fast forwarding after that, I did a movie with him a year and a half later where I was just day playing. What was it, with Melissa McCarthy? ID theft, identity thief.
Yep.
So I worked on it for about a week. And I remember I was at the gas station scene where they get his card sliced up.
Yeah.
And he had passed me a couple of times. And again, I wasn't there every day. So I was like, he doesn't remember me. So it's fine. So he passed me a couple of times, didn't say anything. And then I'm standing in the middle of the gas station outside near the pumps,
Mhm.
faced away from him. And they've already said rolling, and I feel a tap on my shoulder. He has his hand out. He's like, "Hey man, it's good to see you. I forgot your name, but I remember I gave you some shoes." And I'm like, "Yeah." and I reintroduced myself, and
Yeah.
and they had already said action, so he obviously had to go. But so the next day, um, I'm downtown Atlanta directing some actor or some BG from
Hmm.
parking deck to set. And while I'm directing or while I'm talking to one of the extra is telling me that somebody in a van in front of me on the street is trying to get my attention. And it was Jason in the van with the other cast for identity thief. And they were about to do a rehearsal. And he's looking out the window. He's like, the fucking shoes, bro. Because I had worn them that day because
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure he knew I still had them.
Yeah.
And so he made a whole thing of it, and saw me on set, and we were talking about it. So super sweet guy. I really liked working with Jason.
Yeah, that's super thoughtful. That's really cool to
Yeah,
hear all that.
and I interviewed when I first came back here in 2016 because I moved away. I interviewed for Ozark, and I
Mhm.
heard that he was in the office and he was the director for episode one. So I obviously wore the shoes, but I didn't see him, unfortunately.
Mm.
So, but yeah, that's the Jason Bateman shoe story that my mom loves to hear.
No, that's a really cool story.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like. I hope maybe one day I'll work with him again. And I'll break him out and see if he.
Yeah.
So, and then let's see. I'm trying to think of any other stories for the change up. There were some long days. I do know that we fought the Atlanta snowpocalypse in early 2011
Uh-huh.
into the new year, where a lot of us got snowed in at home. And then I do know that that was one of the last days that Ryan had on set before he left to go shoot Safe House in South Africa with
Hmm.
Denzel. So eventually they had to come back and reshoot the ending of the movie because the original ending had and you feel free to edit this out. The original ending had them cutting off the statue's head of the woman, right?
Uh-huh.
And then peeing on it,
Okay.
think. I can't remember. It was something along those lines, and it did not test well, obviously. Um,
Interesting.
and so they had to reshoot it, and then that's where you find them in the mall. The mall
Yeah.
scene was shot 6 to 7 months later that same year
Okay.
up at Phipps Plaza.
Hmm.
And so they had to bring Ryan in, and Ryan had already had cut his hair. So if you notice any differences in his hair, you can tell that he's wearing a wig.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
but yeah, that was all a reshoot because yeah, originally we shot like 2 days at a statue company where they found the statue because at first the statue was removed from downtown. They couldn't find it.
Yeah.
Then they heard it was removed, but instead it was moved to a very public mall area.
Hmm.
Um, let's see what else. For the change up, I don't.
Oh, those are great stories. That's really cool hearing all the behind the scenes work for sure. And that's I think that's one of the most underrated comedy movies of the 2000s, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I
it
I
didn't do
think it's
well.
so funny.
Yeah, I was excited about it, but it didn't do that well, unfortunately.
No,
So I
got
was,
really bad reviews.
yeah, and I was a big fan of Wedding Crashers too, so I was
Oh
like,
my
oh,
God, yeah,
it's gonna be great.
yeah,
So uh,
yeah. I mean, I feel like every time he directs a comedy, it's hilarious.
yeah, I don't know what he's done recently, honestly.
I I don't know if he has done anything super recently.
Yeah.
Um, it's not recent, but I know after that he did a more serious movie, The Judge.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a really
Yes,
good
I
movie.
can watch that on repeat for sure.
Yeah, I don't think that one didn't do that well either, did it?
I don't know, but it's one of my favorites for
Yeah.
sure.
Um,
But yeah, definitely an about face from the comedy world.
yeah. I want to be respectful of your time, but is there anything that comes to mind with American Reunion?
Um, American Reunion, I worked a week and a half on. It was, I think, summer 2012,
Okay.
and it was in line with when I shot Identity Thief
Uh-huh.
as well. So I was shooting at the same time here in Atlanta. So I was just bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of working. So we had a bunch. So I did the reunion part of it,
Uh-huh.
and then
At
I
the
did
school.
at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we shot that for a week, and so we had about 200 extras every day, if not maybe 250.
Hmm.
A lot of PAs, and somehow I was assigned to the model extras, which is about 12 or 15 very beautiful women in their 20s. And I had to make sure that I knew where they were and I
Hmm.
got them to the front of the line for the BG to go through hair, makeup, wardrobe to make sure they were ready before the other extras were ready in case we needed to throw them in. And we just, we placed them wherever we could.
Hmm.
I do remember I was I was going through some tough times then, and I should have been happier to be on set. And the girls saw that, so they tried to cheer me up quite a bit. Um, and some were very flirty, which was great.
Yeah.
Um, and I know that one of those girls, randomly enough, is now married to Josh Brolin
Oh wow.
because she became his assistant, and I think, and met him, and now they have two kids together. So
Wow.
she definitely came a long way.
Yeah.
And then some other people I keep in touch with one or two every now and then. But yeah, that was a fun shoot. It was cool to see, all these characters that I grew up watching because I
Right.
think I
Yeah.
first saw the that first movie, what was it, 98, 99 in
99. Yeah.
school? Yeah. So saw it in high school and here I am working with all of them
Yeah.
as like a 24 or 25-year-old, It was great. Um, and what else? Yeah, I mean it was just fun to be around, to watch everyone have their moments on camera. Um,
I hope everyone is enjoying this podcast. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say if you love comedy movies and miss the R rated comedy movies of the 2000s, I currently have a comedy movie in post production that I wrote, directed, and produced titled Hometown Summer. The movie is very much in vein of the 2000 style R rated comedies and follows the story of three childhood best friends whose plan to attend the same college is thrown for a whirl in a summer filled with drugs, sex, and bad business decisions. The movie is set for release in 2025, and you can follow the movie's progress on Instagram by following @Wolverines Productions, by signing up for our email list at hometownsummer.com, or by subscribing to this YouTube channel. All of these relevant links will be posted in the description along with the pinned comment. I hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast episode.
and then I did maybe a day or two of Jason Biggs' house at night.
Okay.
And then again, while I was on set, I had another kidney stone. It was
Oh
almost,
my God.
yeah. So I think that year I had two kidney stones in a month. So it was bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah, because there was a scene with like John Cho in a car with Jason in a car, and someone's got a girl in his lap or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, so we did that scene, and that was the night I was in like severe pain, and we worked all night, and I remember having to drive 45 minutes back into the city with Atlanta traffic in the morning. So I was like driving a stick shift, falling asleep at the wheel, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go. And thankfully I got home and then I had to go to the emergency room a couple hours later.
Oof. That's
Uh,
terrible.
but yeah, other than that, it was a good time. We had a lot of fun. Another girl that was an extra is now a full-time um, reporter, sports broadcaster for the Cincinnati Twins, or no, the Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
So, and she was just doing extra work, and then
Yeah.
she just worked her way up. She's done very well for herself. So there are some people that I have kind of stayed in touch with along the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
So, and then we had the rap party, which was a lot of fun at Smithsonian Bar in Atlanta, and they have like a section up top, and I remember um, one of the guys there, it was just kind of like an open mic night, if you will, upstairs with
Hmm.
drums and guitars and whatnot. And people got
Yeah.
on, the actors were getting on stage playing, you know, the famous, you know, American Pie song. How does that go?
Yeah.
You know,
Laid.
yes. So
Yeah.
they would play that maybe twice, and among other things. So everyone was just kind of trying to
Like the
show their
cast
stuff.
was.
The cast, yeah,
Yeah, because Thomas Nicholas is
yeah,
a professional musician.
yeah. He was
Yeah.
one of the main ones on there,
Yeah.
up there for sure. So, but yeah, we had a good time. But other than that, you know, it was a good time. You know, again in my 20s, living my best life, working on some cool movies.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Yeah. No, those are definitely some great stories from the movies. I really appreciate you sharing them. They were fun.
yeah.
And yeah, so what's up next for you? Anything you'd like to promote?
I did a movie 2.5 years, 2 years ago in Kentucky that comes out, I think, this month
Okay.
called, it's not a comedy though. It's
Mhm.
called Queen of the Ring.
Okay.
So it takes place in the early 20s, 30s about the first female wrestler, and what she did for the wrestling community and so forth. So it's like a dramatic piece. It looks pretty good. We shot that in Louisville, Kentucky,
Okay.
2023. So that's coming out. I don't know if I have anything else coming out right now. It was a very slow year. Um, a movie I did with Tommy Lee Jones and James Franco.
Oh, okay. I love James Franco.
Yeah. So we shot something in Columbus, Georgia summer called,
Really? With James Franco?
yeah, it's called Razor's Edge. So it's like a,
Interesting. I didn't realize he was coming back to the US. I thought he was in Europe.
yeah, he's there full time, but I think this was one of his first projects back in the States. So he's trying to
Awesome.
ease his way back in.
Cool, cool.
Not a comedy, just to shoot him up, kind of like a John Wick type.
Okay. Yeah. Be fun.
So, um, other than that, I think that's about it. Yeah, it's been real slow, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean that segues in to the questions I ask all my guests. Hopefully, it's not all down. I'm curious what gives you optimism for the future of the film and television industry.
Oh man, I I'm trying to stay hopeful. There are a lot of us that are getting out of the industry, and some of us are just holding on by a thread. So I do wonder how it's going to play out. You know, with the threat of AI and the threat of productions going overseas for better film incentives, and you know, we're just very expensive to shoot here in
Yeah,
the States. Unfortunately, with between um, uh, unions that requires a good amount of money, as they should, you know. But at the same time, as a producer and an investor, they can take that money and just go overseas with it and get people that will work for a fraction of that cost. So for them, it's better for them, but it's not great for us.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm worried about the next generation and those kids that are going to film school right now and only to come out to a very much a ghost town of work. Um, Someone told me the other day that the amount of work that we have right now in Atlanta is the amount of work we had in 2014, which in 2014, you know, we were pretty busy, but we didn't have nearly the same infrastructure and the amount of people that have moved here and relocated
uh-huh.
and that are continuing to relocate here. So therefore the competition is much greater. So therefore there's like 20% of the state working versus other 80% that have been in the industry for 20 years or more
Yeah,
that aren't working, and then you still have these, you know, people getting out of school that are wanting to get into film as well. So it's very challenging. at this point. I don't know how much longer I can financially hold uh, and piecemeal projects together like last year just to pay the bills, you know. So I know it's not a message of hope. It's just we're
Yeah.
plus the economy is terrible. The groceries alone are wicked expensive. So
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty grim. It's honest. Uh,
yeah. So I mean I'm having to just kind of paint a picture for you. I've never used places like Staff Me Up or Backstage or anything for jobs because I've always just gotten it's always been word of mouth,
yeah.
or hey, you work with so and so, or hey, my buddy got the job and I just work with him, you know. So
Hmm.
therefore, there's really no interview process. There's no sending out resumes. Now
Yeah.
that's what we're doing. You know, I'm having to pay $8 to $20 a month for a subscription service that I never thought I would ever have to use, like Staff Me Up and so forth, and put in resumes. And, you know, sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. So that's just where we are. We're having to do different things to find that next job.
No, I'm really sorry to hear that. I know that's seems to be the word from all locations throughout the US. Is there any optimism at all, or is it kind of at this point it's just pretty grim, just kind of wait and see?
Well, it's a wait and see right now. I know that LA's changing up their film incentives. I know that states like Kentucky are changing, you know, are more very competitive, which is good for low budgets. Uh,
Hmm.
I think the low budget world will still have a presence here, but I just heard that the next two Avenger movies are going to be shot in Europe.
Mm.
Like they were shot here.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I think Thunderbolts, which is just about to come out, was one
Hmm.
of the last projects here for Marvel.
Hmm.
But but yeah, it's you know, we'll see what happens. You know, there's all these brand new stages and state of the art studios popping up all around Atlanta, and they are ghost towns.
Mm.
You know, so
It's tough.
it's interesting. You know, so I have been told that you know people should get savvy with AI tools just to survive.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's another thing that you know could start taking jobs away as well. But the unions are fighting against that. What we need is the legislation to start bringing back the film work,
Hmm.
not letting them just go, you
Yeah.
know, as well as the DGA.
Right.
Because SAG, I mean, you got to bring your actors no matter what. You know,
Hmm.
you don't have to bring the crew. You don't have to bring all the crew at least. You can
Right.
department head or two overseas and pay them distant hire and so forth. But the rest of us are kind of treading water.
Yeah. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Um, on a happier note, the final question I ask everyone is, what are your top five comedy movies of all time?
I like Wedding Crashers. Um, there is a Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron movie. What is that? Uh,
When did it come out?
uh, he plays a writer, and she plays Secretary of State, I think.
Was
Uh,
this I was this Long Shot?
Long Shot.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my God. I remember watching that on a flight over from Europe and just laughing out
Yeah.
loud while everyone was, you know, trying to sleep. Love that movie. That was
Yeah.
amazing. Let's see, what else? Ted was good.
I like that one. I like the sequel more, but yeah, Ted.
Yeah. Um, let's see. The buddy comedies are really good. What you call it? I should have wrote my
Yeah, no problem.
answers down for this one. But let's see, Fall Guy was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. Let's see, how many are we at now? Three,
That's I think four. You
four.
said
Okay.
Ted, Wedding Crashers, Long Shot, and Fall
Yeah.
Guy. Yeah.
And then Change Up. I
Oh
enjoyed.
my God, yeah, I love that one. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cry out there for better buddy comedies than what we've got now. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll see a return. I know there's one with Ryan Reynolds and Vince Vaughn coming out in the
Oh, really?
fall.
What's the
Yeah,
name of that?
Animal Friends.
Hmm, nice.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
surprised they made that.
what's the Christmas movie? Spirited. That's a good one.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
That was a good one. I slept on that one for about a year. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did.
uh-huh,
So, but yeah, that was a good one.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, no, thank you very much for coming on, Gene. It's a lot of fun, a lot of really great stories, and yeah, I mean, I'm definitely holding out hope for everyone in the industry. Hopefully, we see better times soon.
yeah, same. So, well, thanks
Awesome.
for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.